Good afternoon, TC faithful. Welcome to Game 2 of the Minnesota NIT Showcase here at the TCO Sports Garden. Team Colorado set to face off against the Minnesota Red Elite. Different on the schedule than the Maine Nordiques, who exited the tournament prior to play starting. So this is a makeup game per se, same schedule. Team Colorado coming off a tough loss to Culver Academy Eagles this morning. Solid play up until the third period, but nonetheless, great effort. Starting for Team Colorado, number 11, Haley Walsh at center. Number 6, Corinne Mainwaring on the right side. Number 21, Maya Chotfix-Chase on the left side. On defense, number 13, Selena Pugh, paired with number 45, Lexi Riedlinger. Minnesota Elite won the opening face-off. TC trying to get to work inside the Minnesota zone. Over on the far side, Walsh has to back that up out to center. Good pass to Chotfix-Chase. She'll dump it down into the Minnesota zone. TC going for the change. Minnesota with all kinds of time for a breakout. They'll connect a pass up here on the near side, coming into the TC zone. Moving it back behind the net. Over on the far side. Back behind now for Egan. Egan's going to chip that up to Brennick here on the near side. Masiello with a step on the Minnesota Elite player. Tries to fire a shot, blocked by Minnesota defense. Now Decker's looking for Brennick. Couldn't quite connect on the pass. Trap up back behind the Minnesota net. Brennick and Decker's digging away for the puck. Brennick comes away with it, has a stick chopped out of her hand. Minnesota's going to come away with a penalty here. They'll touch up. And a slashing call. We'll see the game's first power play for Team Colorado. TC with an early chance to come out swinging and grab a lead here in this afternoon game. Face off to the right and to the left of the Minnesota goaltender. Lena Kelly, number 8 at center. Chotfix-Chase on the right side and Walsh on the left. Pugh and Visa on the points. Between the pipes is 00 Molly Spinks. Face off won by Team Colorado. Visa leaves it for Chotfix-Chase. Trapped up on the near side board. Kelly, Chotfix-Chase digging for the puck. Squirts out to Walsh. Walsh will stick check Visa. Takes advantage of the delayed offside that are part of the rules here for the NIT tournament. Off the referee's leg. Thank you for keeping that in. Chotfix-Chase with it on the near side. She'll back it up to Visa. Visa looking for some room. Goes back to Chotfix-Chase. On the side looking for the feed to Pugh. Couldn't quite connect on that backside pass. Now Visa over to Pugh. Pugh's going to fire a quick one. Low and hard. Deflected up high into the netting for a stoppage in play. .44 seconds gone on the power play for Team Colorado. Kelly peels in for the face-off. Walsh and Chotfix-Chase still out there along with Pugh and Visa. Red center chased out. Now set for the draw. Kelly ties that up off the dot. Red comes away with the loose puck. Minnesota working into the TC zone. From the left side, working towards the net. Backhand towards Spinks. She makes a save and holds on for the whistle. .12:39 left to go in the first period. Scoreless here so far in this matinee game at the TCO Sports Garden. Face off to the right is Spinks. Wong scoops up that face-off win, moves it over to Egan, up to Wiedemeyer. Wiedemeyer into the Minnesota zone on the near side, works her way around back behind the net. Wiedemeyer pushes one over to Masiello. Now back up top for Egan. Egan able to hold the line. Good effort there by Meredith Egan. Masiello trying to work her way towards the net. Wiedemeyer feeds a pass across. Couldn't quite connect with either Huang or Mainwaring was there too. Now Egan has to chase it down back in the TC zone. Stick check. That went in on Spinks, forced to make a save. On Team Colorado, Masiello pulls down a Minnesota player, and that'll do it for the power play for Team Colorado. We'll be 4-on-4 for 17 seconds. And then it will be Minnesota's turn with a crack at a man advantage. Egan, I thought that was Masiello that pulled down the Minnesota player, but Meredith Egan heads to the box to serve 2 minutes for tripping. Face off to the right of Spinks. Minnesota takes the face-off win. They'll move it across up top. Shot blocked by traffic out front. Rieken looking for Deckers over on the far side board. Deckers trying to chip that out to center, kept in by Minnesota. Now cleared out to center. Minnesota back to full strength and now on the power play. Deckers causing trouble just inside the Minnesota zone along with Visa. Deckers intercepts the pass with stick knocked out of her hands. Now Minnesota able to gain the neutral zone. They'll send it down deep into the TCN and go for the change. Visa battling one Minnesota forechecker. Dances around a second Minnesota player. Has some room, moves it up to Deckers. Deckers is going to throw it into the Minnesota zone back behind the net. Now moved over to the near side corner. Visa pushed into the corner boards. Kelly was looking to intercept that, couldn't quite get a stick on it. Now Minnesota back into the TC zone. We're looking to get set up for their power play. 44 seconds left in the tripping call to Egan. Over the far side corner, Rieken watching the Minnesota player closely. Now gets some help from Kelly. Couldn't quite clear. Minnesota maintains his own. They're pushing down deeper into the TCN. Visa with the puck back behind Spinks. Squirts out front. Cleared away by Sangchung Pupin. Minnesota couldn't quite hold the line on that clearing attempt. They'll have to back it up out to center. Regrouping just inside their own zone. Now working their way back towards the TCN here on the near side. Drop pass. Set cross ice up top. Team Colorado back to full strength. Minnesota's possession still inside the TCN. Brennick trying to play that up the near side board. Couldn't quite clear. Minnesota maintains the zone. Now with possession, working their way towards the front. Hauled down on the play, no call. TC gets away with one there. Sangchung Pupin couldn't quite connect a pass to Masiello. Minnesota will regroup and push back into the TC zone. Rieken moves it quickly across to Visa. Visa loses a footing just inside the zone. TC able to clear out to center, forcing the regroup from Minnesota. Now Brennick is going to take advantage of a missed pass. Has it on the near side board. Tries to send it back on a pass out front, but intercepted by Minnesota Red. Now quickly working their way back into the TCN. Riedlinger forces the play to the outside. Centering pass! And a shot deflected wide. Picked up by Masiello. Cross ice over to Deckers. Lauren Deckers is going to chip that down into the Minnesota zone, forcing a save from their goaltender. Now Riedlinger keeps it inside. Has her pocket picked. Hughes back to stop that advance. Now picked up by Riedlinger once more. Has some room on the right side, moving into the Minnesota zone. Stops short of the near side board. She'll send it back around behind the Minnesota net. Has Walsh. Chopper chase now with the puck. Peels out from the corner. Fires a quick one. Blocker save made by Minnesota goaltender. Walsh on the near side board. Moves it up top to Riedlinger. Riedlinger shot. Mainwaring with a tip. Save made by the Minnesota goaltender. Now Mainwaring with it once more over on the far side board. Trapped up in the corner, Minnesota will take possession. Quick pass up the far side board. They'll chip it out to center, down into the TC zone. Not enough steam for an icing call. Riedlinger with time on the Minnesota change. Sends it to Mainwaring. Mainwaring lets that go, and icing will be the call. 7:33 left to go here in the first period. Still scoreless. Game 2 of the Minnesota NIT Showcase. Kelly with the faceoff for Team Colorado. Sherman on the right side. Minnesota once again waved down to the faceoff dot. Faceoff almost picked up by Wiedemeyer, and a quick shot with traffic in front, up and over Spinks, and Minnesota will take the game's first goal with 7:27 left here in the first period. Wiedemeyer had an opportunity to grab that puck and run, but a quick stick check prevented that. Egan and Huang had their players tied up, but just a chip shot over the shoulder of Spinks puts Minnesota on the board first. Face-off win for TC, back to Huang. Minnesota chips out into the TC zone. Egan now from the far side corner, moves it back behind the net to Huang. Now back to Egan from the sideboard. Sherman chips that out, looking for Kelly. Wiedemeyer disrupts that pass attempt. Minnesota recovers, now back on the move into the TC zone. From the near side, Huang has it trapped up in the far side corner. Sherman takes a little chip from Kelly, intercepted there by Minnesota. From the near side, tied up along the boards, Kelly working with Wiedemeyer, gets it chipped out to center. Minnesota forced to regroup back inside their own zone. Minnesota able to chip that down into the TCN. Egan, quick turnaround pass looking for Choi, tied up over on the sideboard. Minnesota now with possession, centering pass taken there by Egan. Quick pass to Sangchung Pupin. Gets some help from Choi. Puck floats down into the Minnesota zone. Choi and Sangchung Pupin on the forecheck. Minnesota able to avoid that pressure. They'll move out back through center over on the far side. Now Choi, quick steal there in front of the TC bench. Minnesota recovers, now punching back into the TC zone on the far side. Rieken, good stick, breaks up the play, forces it into the corner. Now Brennick over in the near side corner. And Sangchung Pupin takes a solid body. Delayed penalty call here against Minnesota on that exchange. Visa with a shot deflected just over the net. Now Brennick picks up the loose puck. Minnesota touches up, and interference is going to be the call against Minnesota Red Elite as Sangchung Pupin was taken down in front of the TC net. And that'll put Team Colorado back on the power play, and they'll be looking to even the score with 5:36 left to go here in this first period. Walsh, Chofix, Chase, and Kelly out for Team Colorado on this power play. Visa and Pugh on the back end. Kelly put down in the corner, kept in by Visa. Now back to Chofix Chase on the near side. Minnesota frees that puck, they'll move it out to center. A 2-on-1 developing for Minnesota. Good back check there by Pugh and Chofix Chase to keep the pressure on. Visa moves it over to the far side corner to Pugh. Pugh looking to go cross ice. Bouncing puck, set right up for Walsh. Haley Walsh has a chance. Shot, save made by the Minnesota goaltender. Now quick pass out to Chofix Chase across the crease. Couldn't quite get a stick on that for a solid shot. But good quick thinking by Haley Walsh not to give up on that play after the shot. Had Chofix Chase on the back door. Visa now moves it up the near side board to Chofix Chase. Takes advantage of some ice out at center into the Minnesota zone here on the near side. Working down low in the corner, we'll back it up to Visa. Emily Visa from the right side point. Finds a shooting lane, fires it just wide. Now Masiello turns back towards the corner, leaves it for Wiedemeyer. Wiedemeyer looking to go back to Masiello, was deflected right under the stick of Walsh. Now Masiello over to Chopix Chase, looking for the shot. Couldn't quite get a stick on it. Loose puck out front. Wiedemeyer digging for it. Minnesota goaltender finds it and holds on for the whistle. Great pressure from Team Colorado on this power play. Down low. Looking for even a quick dirty one. 24 seconds left to go in the power play for Team Colorado. 4 minutes even on the board for the first period. Masiello, Wiedemeyer, and Mainwaring up front with Huang and Egan on the back end. Minnesota face-off one. They'll get it cleared out to center. Now down into the TCN. Good play by Egan to break up that advance. She'll take it from back behind the net. Brings it up to Wiedemeyer. Wiedemeyer over on the far side. Trying to get into the Minnesota zone. They'll have to back it up. Regroup out towards center. Egan. Pass some room. Drops it for Mainwaring. Now to Huang. Huang and Egan exchange passes. Pass off for the shot. Wiedemeyer has a good shot there. Save made by the Minnesota goaltender. Mainwaring couldn't quite get a handle on that bouncing puck. Minnesota now back in full strength, and they're back to work into the TC zone from the left side. Good play there by Meredith Egan to keep that puck toward the outside and break up that advance. No shot on the play. Now picked up by Masiello. Goes cross ice for Wiedemeyer. Nice saucer pass to B. Wiedemeyer. Wiedemeyer cutting toward the slot, couldn't get a shot off. TC on the change, looking for reinforcements. Wiedemeyer putting in the work down low. Brennick now. Pestering on the forecheck, Sanchuk Pupin. Minnesota will break out to center. Into the TC zone on the far side. Run behind the net. TC doing a good job getting outside. Shot from the high slot. A glove save made by Spinks. Molly Spinks with a quick glove on that shot from the high slot of the Minnesota defender. Kelly will take the draw to the left of Spinks, pushed into the corner. Deckers now on the near side, trying to connect with Sherman. Sherman chips that back into the Minnesota zone. Now Deckers on the forecheck. Play there to Kelly. Kelly loses the footing back behind the net. Sherman trying to keep that puck alive down low. Minnesota gets it cleared out to center, just into the TC zone. Pugh, pressured by two Minnesota players. Riedlinger able to make the steal just outside the corner. Decker short pass to Kelly. Too much traffic. Now TC able to clear it out to center. Minnesota's going to throw it back into the TC zone. Riedlinger now for Team Colorado. Tries to feed it up to Deckers just beyond, but cleared out to center. Minnesota regrouping just inside their own blue line. Back to work in the TC zone from the left side. Shot! Deceptive right past Riedlinger, high over the net. Good play there by Walsh. 2-on-1 for Walsh and Mainwaring. Walsh shoved the quick shot, looking for the rebound for Mainwaring. Deflected over to the corner by Minnesota goaltender. Still loose out front. Chopix Chase was on the hunt. Now Minnesota recovers possession. Pushing back into the center ice zone. Rieken able to break up that play. Pass some room. Quick little pass to Mainwaring here right in front of us. Walsh gets back possession. Pushing into the TC zone. Couldn't quite keep a handle on that. Too many skates in the way. There's 40 seconds left to go here in the first period. Pushing back into the TCN. Minnesota unable to advance past Rieken. Out of the near side corner, Visa tries for a pass across, deflected back down in. Walsh is going to get the gate for a tripping call. She took a swipe at that puck. Unfortunately, hit the skates of the Minnesota player, and she will sit for two on a tripping call here with 23.1 seconds left to go in the first period. Minnesota with a one-player advantage as we wind down the first period. Masiello out at center with Wiedenmeyer, Visa, and Rieken. Rieken ties it up in the corner against two Minnesota players. Minnesota digs that free. Rieken says, not yet. Now back up top at the Minnesota point. From the side, a shot comes through, misses just wide. Up from the left side point, that'll do it for the first period. Minnesota Red Elite on top by a score of 1-0 over Team Colorado on a chip shot, fluky kind of goal over the shoulder of Spinks. Second period coming up. Both teams set for the start of the second period. TC is going to start with Kelly, Huang, Deckers, and Egan on the penalty kill. Kelly able to get that dumped into the Minnesota zone. Broken up there by Deckers. Good effort by Lauren Deckers to keep that pinned inside the Minnesota zone. And now Kelly almost had that cleared. Hops over his stick. Huang with it also. Minnesota back into the TC zone, trying to get set up for their power play. Shot from afar, deflected wide by Kelly. Minnesota will back it up out to center. Deckers pestering on the penalty kill. Minnesota back into the TC zone. Quick shot from the left side. The save made by Spinks and held for the whistle. 49 seconds remaining in the minor penalty to Haley Walsh. Face-off will be in the TC zone to the right of Spinks. Masiello, Rieken, Sherman, and Visa now out to finish the kill. Masiello ties it up off the dot. Minnesota gains possession, missed pass, and that puck floats out to center, forcing Minnesota to regroup. Now almost a miscommunication. Sherman almost had that puck right on her stick. Minnesota back into the TC zone from the left side. Another shot and a save made by Spinks and held once more for the whistle. Masiello set for the face-off once more to the right of Spinks. Minnesota with the win. From the slot, shot right in on Spinks. Clear lane and another save made by 0-0. Face-off won cleanly this time by Minnesota. Moving across the top. Now out of the corner. Visa able to poke that away from Minnesota player. Sherman trying to get that chip past the last Minnesota defender. Couldn't quite keep a handle on that. Now Visa sends it up the far side board. Minnesota's going to back that out to center once more. Now a pass connected here on the near side. Team Colorado back to full strength. Shot from the slot, deflected by traffic. Walsh, fresh out of the box, Sends one up to Masiello. Immediate pressure from the Minnesota winger, now tied up on the far side board. Back up top for Minnesota on the left side. They'll send it down into the corner. Visa tries to pick it up for Team Colorado. Masiello now looking to clear, kept in by Minnesota. Rican will scoop it up here in the near side corner. Minnesota on the change, gives TC some room. Reagan Rican on the move into the Minnesota end. She'll dump it down deep for Walsh. Walsh looking to center, goes off the back of the net, picked up by Minnesota. Runs into the linesman. Rican gets a body in on the Minnesota advance. Keeps it alive inside the red zone. Now Walsh back behind the net. Centering pass has Chotvik's chase and a quick shot. Save made by the Minnesota goaltender. Good short pass right there for Chotvik's chase. Couldn't quite beat that Minnesota goaltender. 12-11 left to go here in the second period. Face off to the left. Brennick wins that draw back to Pugh. Quick shot from Pugh and a save made. Minnesota takes possession in the far side corner. Pass sent across. Broken up there by Riedlinger. She'll chip it down into the Minnesota end. Chotvik's chase out of the corner. Being mauled by two Minnesota players. Gets some help from Brennick. Brennick looking for chase. Also had Mainwaring out front. Picked off there by Minnesota. And they're back into the TC zone. Pugh forcing the play to the outside. From back behind the net. Minnesota trying to shovel a backhand pass to the slot. Broken up there by Brennick. And now Pugh picks it up back behind the net. Looking for Mainwaring off the boards out to center. TC going for the line change. Minnesota with time for the breakout. Fumbling a couple of passes, now picked off there by Riedlinger. Leaves it for Wiedenmeyer. Sherman and Wiedenmeyer. I got it, you got it. Sherman's got it, takes a shot. Save made by the Minnesota goaltender. Now, wraparound attempt by Kelly. And held strong to the post. Minnesota goaltender makes the save and holds on for the whistle. Faceoff will be deep inside the Minnesota zone to the left of their puck stopper. Kelly will take the draw with Sherman and Wiedenmeyer on the wings. Wong and Egan on the points. Minnesota with the faceoff win. Wong's going to keep that in. Fires one towards the net. Taken there by the Minnesota defense. Kelly steps into a Minnesota player back behind the net. She'll take the puck in the corner. Get some help from Sherman. Now Huang pinches down low, tries to keep that play alive deep in the Minnesota zone. Minnesota able to clear. Egan fortunate to make that play. Now, a bit of a collision at right along the blue line. Kelly was able to force it outside with the Minnesota player. We'll have a face-off just outside the TC zone. Masiello, Choi, and Deckers for Team Colorado. Wong and Egan still on the points. Face off one back to Egan. Wong fed it up to Deckers. Deckers over to Masiello. Masiello looking for the pass. Picked off there by the Minnesota defense. Now Minnesota working their way back out through center. Stop short there right on the dot, almost on the dot. Masiello picks up that loose puck, trying to work back into the Minnesota zone. Couldn't quite get that one pushed deep. Minnesota now back out to center. Pushing into the TC end. Egan's got some time. She'll take it back behind the TC net. Now, with some speed, comes out, feeds Choi. Bella Choi on the move into the Minnesota end. Will dump it down deep in the red zone. TC now going for the change. Choi all alone down in the Minnesota zone. Now Mainwaring from the right side fires one in on net. And a save made by the Minnesota goaltender and held for the whistle. .35 left to go here in the second period. Walsh, Chotvik's chase, and Mainwaring up front for Team Colorado. Rican and Visa. Back on the blue line. Minnesota breaking out. Push a bit offside. Pass the circle back out at center. Now back into the TC zone. Drop pass at the blue line. Broken up there. Walsh working with Chopfix Chase. Chopfix Chase is going to take it. Gets around, almost around the Minnesota defender. Had a chance there. Just couldn't quite complete that move. Now Rieken tries to back it up on the near side board. Picked off there by Minnesota. Rieken gains the puck back. Looking to feed it to Chopfix Chase. Delayed penalty call here against Team Colorado. And TC will touch up. Looks like we're going to get an elbowing call with 8:46 left to go in the second period, putting Minnesota back on the power play. Number 18, Reagan Rieken, gets the gate for the elbowing call. 2 minutes in the sin bin. And TC will be forced to kill off another penalty here at the midpoint of the second period. Brannick, Sangchung, Pupin, Pugh, and Riedlinger now out for Team Colorado. Shot from the high slot, tipped out front, just wide. Spinks had it in her sights. That puck was deflected wide. Riedlinger moves it around to Pugh. Pugh chips it out to center. Picks it up once more right in front of the timekeeper's box. Couldn't quite keep a handle on that. Now Minnesota back in the TC zone, offside the call. .128 left to go in the elbowing minor penalty to Reagan Rieken. Minnesota changing goaltenders here on their power play. Face-off won by Kelly, back to Egan. Egan with it in the far side corner. Tries to chip one up to Deckers. Kelly pushing into the Minnesota zone. Good hustle by Lena Kelly, forcing that play deep in the Minnesota end. Minnesota with possession. Moving out to center over on the far side. Pushing into the Team Colorado zone. Deckers breaks that play up. Trying to force that back out to center. Now Deckers will grab it once more, and she'll send it down the length of the ice. 55 seconds left to go in the minor penalty to Rieken. Minnesota collects that out of the corner, takes it back behind their net, now pushing out to center. Pass across at the blue line, broken up there by Wiedemeyer. Wiedemeyer turns and fires that down into the Minnesota zone. Masiello in pursuit. Minnesota's going to move that up the strong side. Peels out to center, into the TC zone from the right side. Peels back towards the near side board. Short pass, one fired at the net, turned aside by Spinks. Now Egan up the boards to Wiedemeyer. Wiedemeyer stopped short. Minnesota keeps his own. Fighting, battling for it in the far side corner. Egan getting pushed around a little bit, get some help from Wiedemeyer. Back up top for Minnesota. Shot from the point, deflected wide there by Spinks. Team Colorado back to full strength, almost connecting a pass with Sherman. Wiedemeyer picks it up. Now Wiedemeyer in the clear with the help from Sherman. Wiedemeyer just floats wide. Pass out front. Shot attempt there by Wiedemeyer once more. Minnesota will recover and send that back into the TC zone. A huge opportunity for B. Wiedemeyer with some help from Sherman there on the pick at the blue line. Visa now will fire that down deep in the Minnesota zone after getting the red line. Sherman on the forecheck. TC getting caught out a bit on a defensive line change. Regan picks it up and has some speed. Moves it up to Sangchung Pupin, just off the stick. Minnesota recovers, trying to push back into the TC zone. Over on the far side, pocket pick there by Brennick. Regan's clearing attempt held at the blue line. Sent just wide of the net. Visa picks it up. Trapped back behind the TC net. Visa with some help from Brennick frees that puck. Pass just off the mark, kept in by Minnesota. Rican now banging bodies back behind the net once more. Pass up to Choi. Choi's got Sangchong Pupin working into the Minnesota zone. Minnesota able to clear out to center. Brennick takes a bit of a fall out at center ice. Minnesota back to work inside the TC zone. Drag attempt move there, broken up there by Visa. Choi scoops up the loose puck, working back into the Minnesota zone. Gets a little help from Mainwaring. Bit of a shovel shot towards the net, couldn't quite get much on it. Minnesota stays out of trouble. Now Pugh gloves down the high clear, sends it back into the Minnesota zone. Walsh on the forecheck. Minnesota able to get that puck out to center ice into the TC zone here on the far side. Checked closely there by Chotfix Chase. Pass up top. Shot fired. Save made by Spinks. Loose puck scooped up by Chotfix Chase. Pass blocked there. Minnesota back to work on the offense. Over to the far side. Shovel pass over to the back door. Broken up there by Team Colorado. Now chipped up. Chotfix Chase takes advantage of the flat-footed Minnesota defender. Now across to Mainwaring. A little too hot to handle. Mainwaring out on the far side corner. Taken there by Minnesota. Riedlinger keeps it alive inside the Minnesota zone. Trapped up in front of the TC bench. Mainwaring trying to dig that free. Walsh puts it across the Chotfix Chase. Not much room. Minnesota clears. Pugh will pick it up for Team Colorado. Pushes it over to Riedlinger. Riedlinger clears out to center. Minnesota back into the TC zone. Working around to the near side up at the point. Shot blocked by Chotfix Chase. Good shot block there by Maya Chotfix Chase. Shot blocker save made by Minnesota goaltender. Now out of the corner, Wiedemeyer working back behind the net. Has it trapped up in the far corner. Now gets some help from Kelly. Minnesota pushes that back behind their own net. Long thinks twice about the low pinch. Minnesota able to clear. Egan regrouping back inside the TC zone, goes deep behind the net. Pass picked off there by Minnesota. From the point, shot. Save made by Spinks. Rebound a little too hot for the Minnesota forward. Now play broken up by Kelly. She'll take it back behind the TC net. Ships a short pass up to Deckers, and Kelly taken hard into the boards by the Minnesota player. And that'll earn another trip to the sin bin for the ladies in red and another power play opportunity for Team Colorado with 2:21 left to go here in the second period. Kelly bopped up quick back on her feet and to the bench. Looks to be okay. That was a hard collision. Just to my right, Walsh, Mainwaring, and Chotfix Chase out for Team Colorado on this power play. Pugh and Visa on the points. Minnesota working it back into the TC zone. Close out to center. Minnesota's going to send that back in. Stopped short there by Pugh. Pugh looking for Walsh here on the near side. Minnesota picks that off. Back into the TC zone. From the right side. Pugh trying to keep that play on the outside. Scooped up once more by Pugh. Shovels it up to Walsh. TC having a hard time here on the breakout here on the power play. Now with some room, Visa gains some speed into the Minnesota zone, cuts to the middle. Leaves it for Chotfix Chase. Couldn't get it deep. Minnesota now out to center. Into the TC zone on the left side. Wiedemeyer trying to keep that play on the outside. Back up top on the blue line for Minnesota, shot deflected just wide. Visa scoops up the loose puck back behind the TC net. Pass across to Pugh. Finds Chotvik's chase. Short pass to Wiedemeyer on the wing. Wiedemeyer loses a handle on it. Minnesota grabs it, clears it down the length of the ice. 23 seconds remaining in the penalty to Minnesota. Puck chipped off the near side glass. Scooped up by Visa just inside the TC zone. Just 10 seconds remaining on the power play for Team Colorado. Offside, the call. Faceoff moves back out to center on that offside call. Kelly, Sherman, Masiello, Huang, and Pugh. Faceoff one back to Egan. Egan instead of Pugh, sorry. Masiello from the left side fires a shot off a body out front and deflected wide. Minnesota back to full strength. Kelly with it in the far side corner, looking for the pass out front, deflected there by Minnesota. Egan now fires a quick one in on net. Minnesota grabs possession and they will clear. And that'll do it for the second period. No additional tallies on either side in the second. Minnesota holding on to a 1-goal lead, 1-0, as we make our way to the third. We'll have an ice make and be back for third period action. We're back and ready for third period action here at the TCO Sports Garden. Coach Locks has the troops ready to go. Spinks makes her way down to the far end, or to my left side. Ready to try to even the score and give Minnesota a run for their money. 15 minutes on the clock. Ready for puck drop. Haley Walsh, Corinne Mainwaring, Maya Chotfix Chase, Belina Huang, Meredith Egan will start the third for Team Colorado. Minnesota with the faceoff win. Looking for a pass over on the far side. They'll dump it down deep in the TC zone, picked up by Egan. Picked off on the near side by Minnesota. They have it back behind the TC net. Now picked up by Chotfix Chase. Pass deflected out to center. Chotfix Chase picks up the loose puck on that exchange. Working towards the net, fires a shot off the high chest blocker of the goaltender, making the save. Kept in by Egan on the near side board. Now Mainwaring up top for Walsh. Couldn't quite keep a handle on that. TC has to clear. Now picked up by Minnesota. Connecting a pass through center back into the TC zone. Good stick there by Team Colorado. Shot from afar off the crossbar up into the glass. Nice shot from the Minnesota player out on the high zone. Brennick now working with Masiello, trying to punch this back into the Minnesota zone. Deckers over on the left side couldn't quite intercept that one. Minnesota now back through center into the TC zone. Masiello stops that one short with the help of Huang. Pass deflected back behind the net. Minnesota still with possession, looking for that centering pass. Picked up by TC. Pushed back into the near side corner. Masiello. Quick pass to Huang. Kept in there by Minnesota. Deflected out front. Spinks sharp on the play. Makes the save. Another shot out from the point. Two Minnesota players right there on the back side of the net there. Brennick now chips a quick one, and Masiello takes a bit of a knee right there at the TC blue line. Minnesota trying to get back into the zone. Masiello will pick up that loose puck. Works her way into the Minnesota zone, looking for the shot between the legs. Blocked there by Minnesota. Rieken a little frustrated, looking for that pass. Visa. Now a short pass to Rieken. Minnesota pushes that back out to center. Sherman fires that down deep into the Minnesota zone. Kelly in pursuit on the forecheck in the far side corner. Wiedemeyer feeds it to Sherman. Sherman tied up on the play. Visa will pick it up on the near side board. Minnesota comes away with possession, working their way out through center. Back into the TC zone. Good stick there by Rieken. Breaks up that advance. And Sherman would dump that down deep into the Minnesota zone. Kelly in pursuit on the forecheck. Minnesota sends that back around behind the net, up the near side board. Kept in by Visa. Tipped out front on that quick shot from the sharp angle. Wiedemeyer doing some battle with Minnesota player back behind the net. Now pass attempt through the legs of the Minnesota player, and that'll go 200 feet. Icing will be the call. A couple chances traded both sides here early in the third frame. Minnesota with one ringing off the crossbar. Walsh, Mainwaring, and Chotfix Chase back out for Team Colorado. Walsh gets that face-off with the Chotfix Chase. Pressure from TC. Pugh now with a quick shot deflected out front up into the netting for a stoppage in play. .11:35 left to go here in the third period. Walsh with the face-off. Wins that over to Mainwaring. Back up top to Pugh. Pugh goes back down looking for Mainwaring. Intercepted there by Minnesota. Chotfix Chase gets a stick on that cross-ice pass. Walsh from behind the TC net. Up the far side board. Chipped out to center. Minnesota Trying to turn that back around into the TC zone. Pugh for Team Colorado. Drops it to Riedlinger. Now Chopfix Chase over on the far side. Tries to get one off the timekeeper's box. Hit the stanchion. Didn't quite deflect into the Minnesota zone. Now Chopfix Chase all on her own into the Minnesota zone. Broken up there by red defense. It sent the length of the ice. Another icing call here against Minnesota will bring the faceoff back 200 feet to the right of their puck stopper. Brennick Choi and Sang Chung Pupin now out for Team Colorado with Egan and Huang on the points. Faceoff tied up off the dot. Now Choi from the sharp angle turns and fires, deflected wide. Brennick drops that back behind the net, scooped up there by Minnesota. Sang Chung Pupin rubs off the Minnesota player on the far side board there. Choi now with it back behind the Minnesota net. Centering pass picked off there by the Minnesota goaltender, Choi. Working in here on the near side board. Egan gloves it down, keeps it alive inside the zone, but quickly moved back out to center. Sang Chung Pupin leaves it for Huang. Darina Huang into the Minnesota zone. Minnesota with it, turns it back up the strong side. Out of the far side corner. Looking for the pass out of the center, picked off there by Egan. Egan's dumping attempt stop short at the Minnesota blue line. And another icing call once more against Minnesota will send the faceoff back into the Minnesota zone. .9:44 left to go here in the third period. TC is still looking for that equalizer tally. Masiello, Sherman, and Deckers, along with Rieken and Visa, now for Team Colorado. Minnesota with the face-off win, pushing back into the TC zone on the right side, cutting across the middle, looking for the drop pass to the point. Quick shot. Spinks got a bit of a glove on that, goes wide. Now Masiello working back into the Minnesota zone, takes a bounce off the boards from the sharp angle, fires a shot high over the net. And it'll travel the length of the ice, forcing Rieken to gather that back up in the team's Colorado zone. Visa with the short pass from Rieken, runs into trouble from the Minnesota forecheck. Now Masiello scoops that up, moves it back up the strong side to Visa. Emily Visa up to Sherman. She'll settle for the dump in into the Minnesota zone. Deckers with the steal. Tries a short pass to Visa, picked off there by Minnesota. And now Deckers will chip this back into the Minnesota zone. Pressure from Walsh on the forecheck. Minnesota stops short, they'll work it back up the near side board. Back into the TC zone, Minnesota threatening, coming towards the net. Visa trying to keep that tight, loose puck out front. Visa able to clear it. Makes its way out to center, dangerous chance there for Minnesota on the first initial shot and rebound. Now Minnesota coming in. Another shot in on Spinks. Good save there by 00. Mainwaring with some room. Backs it up to Rieken. Across to Visa. Visa's got some time. Trying to connect with Chopfix Chase. Picked off there by Minnesota. Mainwaring put down out at center ice. Chopfix Chase, though, with the steal. Working away towards the middle, finds Mainwaring with a shot! Save made by the Minnesota goaltender. And Minnesota clears down the length of the ice. Icing waved off here. Pugh for Team Colorado. Reverses back behind the TC net. Riedlinger trying to move that up the boards. Stopped short there by Minnesota. Puck grab. Short angle shot on the short side. And Minnesota finds the back of the net once more for their second tally of the game. Minnesota now with a 2-goal lead, 2-0 over Team Colorado with 7:18 left to go here in the third period. Masiello centering Brennick and Deckers. After that goal by Minnesota, Egan and Wong back on the points. Minnesota right back to work in the TC zone from the far near side. Egan collides with the Minnesota player. Loose puck scooped up by Masiello. Masiello takes a bit of a forearm shiver there into the boards. Comes away with it though. Masiello with some help from Brennick, trying to push towards the Minnesota net. Over on the far side, Wong keeps that play alive deep inside the Minnesota zone. Well connected pass up to center. Now picked up by Masiello. Masiello's got Deckers on the left side. Fires a shot just wide. Wong will scoop that up at the Minnesota blue line. Minnesota trying to clear out to center. Wong trying to pinch that off at the blue line. Now Wong trying to make her way back into the Minnesota zone from the left side. From the sharp angle, low shot, looking for the rebound for Deckers. Save made by the Minnesota goaltender. Now pass attempt to Egan picked off there by Minnesota. 2-on-1 here for Red Elite. Working their way pass, missed there off the mark. Scooped up by Brennick. Brennick's move read cleanly there by Minnesota. Walsh pressuring the play inside the Minnesota zone. Now moved out to center. Minnesota back to work in the TC zone on the right side. Sent down deep into the TC end. Egan battling for it on that near side corner. Now puck squirts out to center for Walsh. Walsh has Chotvik's chase. Almost deflected past the Minnesota defender. Would have put Chotvik's chase in the clear. Now from the right side. Shot fired in on Spinks. Save made. Visa scoops up that puck, gets it out of danger. Pass picked off there, intended for Chotvik's chase. And now Rieken battling in the near side corner. Delayed penalty call here against Team Colorado. Shot from afar, now touched up by Walsh. High sticking will be the call against Rieken. And that'll put Minnesota back on the power play here with 4:53 left to go in the third period. Face-off will be to the left of Spinks, deep in the TC zone. Deckers and Kelly out to kill this one for Team Colorado with Pugh and Riedlinger on the back end. From the point, Minnesota working their way in. Shot fired high over the net. Deckers gets that chip past the Minnesota defense and sent down the length of the ice. Minnesota now starting from back behind their own net. Out to center, pass connected here on the right near side. Worked in Riedlinger, almost bit completely on that move by Minnesota's number 2. Pugh now with it back behind the TC net. Centering pass, blocked by traffic out front. Kelly trying to clear. Punch back in by Minnesota, now cleared by Pugh. Minnesota regrouping back into their own zone. Almost picked off there by Kelly. Back into the TC end here on the near side. Shot, fire from afar, stick aside there by Spinks. Minnesota working out of the far side corner. They'll go back up top to the right side point. Shot from afar, hits traffic out front. Another centering pass. Couldn't make it through traffic. Defender steps down and takes a quick shot. Fired wide. Now once more working way out to the slot. Wiedemeyer picks that one off. Works it back into the Minnesota zone. Wiedemeyer on the move. Looking for that loose puck. Picks it up. Feeds a pass to Chotvik's chase. Shot deflected just wide. Now Wiedemeyer with it back behind the Minnesota net. Tries to tuck one from behind. Stopped short there by the Minnesota goaltender and held for the whistle. 21 seconds remaining in the penalty to Rieken. 3 minutes, 13 seconds left to go here in the third. Face-off by Chopfix Chase. Pushed into the corner, now swung around to the near side. Wiedemeyer almost picking off that pass attempt. Minnesota back into the TC zone here on the right side. Pass sent across. Good tie up there by Wiedemeyer. Now Chopfix Chase putting pressure on the PK. Team Colorado back to full strength. Minnesota connecting the pass out the center through into the TC zone. Shot blocked by traffic. Visa along with Choi. Choi feeds one back to Huang. Huang absolutely rubbed off the play. Penalty coming here against Minnesota. Pretty obvious call on that one. That will put Team Colorado back on the power play. Body checking the call here against Minnesota. Walsh, Chopfix Chase, Kelly up front, Visa, and Pugh on the back end on this power play here late in the third period. TC still looking for their first goal of the showcase. Walsh digs that puck free, gets it back to Pugh, across to Visa. Visa now looking for a shot, feeds it to Chopfix Chase. A little too hot to handle. Minnesota grabs possession and clears. Spinks stops that for Visa. Visa makes her way back behind the net. Has some room on the left side. Visa with speed into the Minnesota zone. Cuts towards the middle. Looking for the shot. Pass attempt across to Kelly. Off the mark. Minnesota able to clear. And Wiedemeyer unable to hold the zone. Outside the call. Kelly, Chopfix Chase, and Walsh for Team Colorado. And puck cleared into the bench. We'll have another face-off just outside the Minnesota zone. Kelly with a clean win back to Pugh. Across to Visa. Now up to Chopfix Chase. Tips it into the Minnesota zone. Kelly in pursuit on the forecheck. Minnesota sweeps that around the near side board. Stopped short there by Chopfix Chase. Now gets some help from Kelly. Wiedemeyer also in support of the play. Visa now for Team Colorado. Team Colorado with an extra attacker. Net empty to my left. With 1:26 left to go in the third period and 1 minute even on the power play. Walsh, Kelly, Wiedemeyer, Chopfix Chase, Visa, and Pugh. 6 attackers for Team Colorado. Pugh with the face-off win. Back up top to Visa. Across to Chopfix Chase with a one-time shot. Loose puck out front, looking for it. Minnesota puck stopper finds it and holds on for the whistle. Great opportunity for Team Colorado. Just couldn't find that loose puck before the Minnesota netminder. Kelly with the draw once more. Wiedemeyer feeds that back to Visa. Across to Pugh. Pugh looking for Walsh. Chopfix Chase now with it in the corner. Up top to Visa. Over to Chopfix Chase. Shot just off the mark. Visa couldn't quite keep the zone. She'll have to back it up out to center. Across to Chopfix Chase. Last time, Visa blocking the line. Pugh couldn't quite hold it. Now Visa. Pressure from the Minnesota penalty killer. Visa trying to get that to Chopfix Chase. Almost back into the TC zone offside. Visa turns it around for Chopfix Chase. Feeds it to Walsh. Drop for Chopfix Chase. Cross down to Pugh. Pugh looking for another pass. Couldn't quite connect. Now, pass attempt out front. Kelly tried to punch that one in, but held strong on the post by Minnesota goaltender. Minnesota back to full strength, 14.6 seconds left on the clock. One last chance for Team Colorado to get on the board. Deckers, Masiello, Mainwaring, Sherman, Huang, and Egan for Team Colorado. Face-off one to Mainwaring. Loose puck scooped up by Minnesota. Out to center. They'll send one in on net wide right. And Minnesota grabs the empty netter for their third tally with 1.4 seconds left. And that's the nail in the coffin against Team Colorado. One drop of the puck, and that'll do it for this second game here at the Minnesota NIT Showcase. TC moves to 0-2 on the weekend so far, but still standing strong in their play in both contests against Culver and now Minnesota Red Elite. One game on tap tomorrow for Team Colorado against the St. Louis Lady Blues. 9:10 a.m. Central Time at the National Sports Center. We'll be broadcasting live once more. Thanks for watching on this one. Join us tomorrow. We'll see you on the next one. There you go.
Take care.
Yeah, you should.
The rest of it.
Who you guys play next?
It's either St. Louis or Anaheim.
Okay, probably Anaheim because we have St. Louis tomorrow.
And then
Yeah,
second
we'll
one
probably
is
switch you guys.
Anaheim.
Yeah.
I don't think we're very disciplined. As disciplined as whoever you play. First game of the NBA
Yeah.
Academy.
Yeah.
Our balls in our defense. Like we start skating and everything.
Right.
It is what it is.
You had a better solution than we did.
It was. I thought it was held by most of the team this weekend.
Pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. No, it was close. It was good. I mean, a lot more penalties this game than the first one too. They're calling it tighter. This morning they were letting everything go.